Hi guys, we're here at Sea Life Michigan at our touch pool. Normally our guests would get to come help us feed this every day, but since we don't have any guests, we're going to do it ourselves.
So we're going to be giving our hat today is some pre-prepared shrimp. So the really cool thing about anemones that a lot of people don't know is that they're actually related to jellyfish. They're in the same family as jellyfish and corals. If you look right here, you can see that they have all these rows of tentacles all over their body. They'll actually use these tentacles to grab onto their food. So what we're going to do is come down here. We're going to take a little piece of food here, a tiny piece of shrimp. You can see our anemone is going to grab onto the food and pull it into its mouth. So if we look here at our green anemones, their mouth is actually right in the center of their body. So they use their little tentacles, they grab onto their food, and then they pull it right into their mouth. So let's give some of these guys here. An animal that we sometimes don't think about in our touch pool, hermit crabs. So these guys play a really important role as scavengers in the bottom of our touch pool here. They'll help clean up any leftover food scraps that maybe our sea stars or our anemones didn't eat. They're very important in our little ecosystems here.
Hermit crabs are special because they like to find a home in their environment. These two guys are living in snail shells. So when a snail dies and leaves its shell, a hermit crab will come around and find it. Hermit crabs actually have really soft bodies, so they don't have a lot of protection if they're outside of that shell. But they can pull their whole body into it, and they use their big claw to close the entrance, making it like one fortress. So this guy is feeding himself. You can see there's some little smudges of algae that are growing on the glass, and this Slimpit is cleaning them all off. You can see his little mouth parts working. He's got a scraping radula, which is kind of like a tooth that scrapes algae off the glass. So in the wild, he'd scrape it off the rocks. Here, he's scraping it off the glass, and he's doing a great job. Okay, let's talk about sea stars. Sea stars normally have 5 arms, but you know what's really cool? Is they can have a lot more. Look at this guy. This is a bat star. Bat stars also normally have 5 arms, but can you count how many this guy has? He's got 6. It's pretty cool. So there's some cool things that I can show you about this sea star. If you look at this little spot on the back, this is called a madreporite, and this is actually where the sea star sucks water in and out of its body. This is important because sea stars actually use water to move around. They don't have muscles the same way we do, so they use water pressure within their bodies to strengthen their limbs and their tube feet. Have you heard about tube feet? Let me tell you all about tube feet. Sea stars are echinoderms, which means spiny skin, and they have these specialized things called tube feet that they use to move around. Tube feet are important because sea stars are often found in places like tide pools where water rushes in and out, and tube feet keep them stuck safely to the rocks. They can also use tube feet to grab onto food items like clams and pull them open. It's pretty cool. Can you see how this sea star is using its tube feet to stick to the glass? It's got rows of tube feet on each arm that go all the way out from the edge, all the way to this middle section, which is the stomach. This is the mouth of the sea star where it eats. And that is really cool because sea stars have a really cool adaptation where they actually regurgitate their stomach out of their mouth, digest things on the outside, and then slurp in all that tasty, tasty food.
So I just gave a little bit of food to our sea stars here. So our sea stars have their little tube feet here, and they're gonna use those to pull the food closer to their mouth, which is right in the center here. So once they have it close to their mouth, they'll eject out their stomach, dissolve the food, and then slurp it back up. So it's a pretty cool little process they have here. He's still holding onto the glass, but while he's also pulling the food in closer to his mouth. We're also going to give a little piece to this guy too. Just going to hold it out here. See if he'll grab onto it.
You can see those tube feet waving around. That means he can smell food in the water and he is looking for it. Sea stars do not have brains, but they do have a lot of senses and they can figure out what's going on around them and find pieces of food. Sea stars are predators. They're not like sharks, but they're similar in that they look for animals that they eat as food. Sea stars don't eat plants. They only want a meaty meal.